What is your personal outlook on students who drop out?
I think they're stupid. They need to have an education to go further in life.
And why do you think that some kids don't take school seriously?
I don't think they understand the importance of it, how much you need it when you're an adult, the things you learn.
Why do you think that some kids don't take school seriously?
I think some students take school for granted. We recognize that when we have some students who come to the United States who have never had the opportunity to go to school before, that they are a lot more engaged in school. They will get up out of bed when they're very sick, almost dying, and come to school and learn, and they were very attentive. But I think a lot of people in the United States have taken school for granted and taking the prerogative of an education for granted, and just think that it's just there, and simply by being in a country where education is important, that they're automatically going to learn and they're automatically going to get a good job. And that's not true at all. And I don't think students are recognizing the importance of a quality education and for the quality of life.
And why do you think that students drop out knowing that it's harder to get a job?
They just don't care.
I think that students are young people. They're 14, 15, 16 years old, and 17. And young people don't tend to understand the consequences of their actions. I mean, I think that's part of growing up. You think one thing, but then you just don't realize what the consequences are going to be until you live through it. So you tend to think that, oh, it's going to be okay, and I'll be able to work it out, and I'll be able to find something. And until you actually live through not being able to work and not being able to make enough money to support yourself, it's pretty hard to feel that impact until you actually live through it.
Why do you think the dropout rate is so high?
I think kids just don't understand how important it is to go to school. They don't care.
What age do you think should be a reasonable age to drop out?
I don't think there should be any age to be able to drop out. I think they should have to finish school and go on with education.
Personally, I don't think that any student should be allowed to drop out of school. Two things. One is that if a student's agenda is simply to be as disruptive as humanly possible in a school setting and prevent those students who really want to learn, prevent them from learning because of their disruptive behavior, they should be able to separate themselves from school at a reasonable age, like 16. Because when we increase the dropout rate to like 18, and those students remain in the school setting because they legally have to, but they don't do anything but just cause major disruption, then they are hampering the teaching and learning process for everyone. Teachers cannot teach to their fullest capability, and students cannot learn to their fullest capability when someone is in that environment with a sole agenda of simply being disruptive. But I believe that students should remain in school until they get their high school diploma. I believe that they should not be allowed to drop out. I believe that the penalty for dropping out, if they choose to separate themselves from school, should be so horrendous that they recognize the value of staying in school. I recognize there are some jobs that students can, very few, but some jobs that students can receive if they drop out of school. I think there needs to be fewer jobs, because it should be a emphasis and a priority for them to stay in school and at least get a high school diploma.
Do you think they should higher or lower the academic standards?
I think the standards are okay as they are. If anything, I'd like to see them higher so kids can hold themselves accountable and learn.
I think it should be higher. I think there should be more higher academics for students to go on to college, and once you get in college, it's a lot harder than it is in high school.
And do you think the No Child Left Behind Act hurts or helps students?
I think the No Child Left Behind Act is an interesting. I think that it's one of the things it's done is that it's kind of shaken up the at least secondary education, and that kind of forced secondary ed to make some changes. And in that respect, it's probably helped students because they've made some good changes, I think, tried to make classes more rigorous and relevant, and in that respect it's been good. The bad part about it is that I believe that they kind of punish the wrong people when they find that schools are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They want to take funding away, and often that punishes schools that are in areas that have the highest poverty or areas that are in need. So it's sort of a catch-22 is that we've got areas that are in need that don't always perform well, and then they're going to take away the money, so how's that going to help? So it's sort of a double-edged sword, I'd say.
What grade do you think more students drop out in?
We're seeing more students, we're seeing our greatest loss between the 9th and 10th grade.
Why?
Well, the 9th graders, because of age, because of the legal age, first of all, when students become of legal age to drop out, then some of them have been contemplated for many years, even before they got to high school, and even before they get to high school, and some of them are even being encouraged from their parents to, but they're waiting until the time that they are of legal age.
What could the school do to change the students' outlook on school?
Again, make it more engaging. Listen to what the students tell us regarding what they like to see in school, what engages them, and don't teach the same old thing the same way for multiple generations. We've got to update our curriculum, update our process, update our procedure, update our approach, and update our techniques, and so we can keep students engaged.
Okay.